ideal wedding timeline that you want to follow. What's up, bros? What's happening? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog, and welcome to this very special posh edition video with Mr. 140 Weddings himself.
But can't afford to have that on turntable, yeah.
Exactly, Mr. Evan Ruga, everybody. If you guys saw earlier this year, at the start of the year, we did the first gig vlog of the year with Evan right here. And today we're doing a video all about weddings, and we have nobody better to ask than Evan.
Barr, how many times have you gone to a wedding and the maitre d' gives you a paper and they say, here's the timeline for tonight, and you're like, I have to deal with this.
Yeah. We've all been there. I'm gonna show you guys three or four different timelines.
three, four different timelines that are common, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think we should set some ground rules though, because I know some people who watch this might be different places in the country where other things are common.
Yep.
These are all assuming that the couple is doing most major formalities. So first dance, parent dances, cake cutting, all that type of stuff. It's also assuming that their meals are plated. Now I'm remembering that I forgot to write two of these down.
Here's some of the most common things that we're gonna go through and see at a traditional reception.
Parent dances, bouquet and other cake-related activities. This is your garter toss, anniversary dance, things like that. Cake cutting, speeches, dancing, introductions, of course, first dance, first course, and dessert. 99% of weddings, I would say, start with introductions into first dance. Would you agree?
Yes. Except if you're in California, where they do introductions, dinner, and then first dance, parent dance, which that one's a little bit odd. But again, it depends on where you are in the country.
I've also seen some places in New York that do parent dances, then first dance. But
that's foul.
I think we should just build our most common timeline that I think we're going to eventually agree is the best timeline.
Okay.
But after first dance, we typically do parent dances. And
then you want to do toast or you want to do a dance set?
No, let's do speeches.
Speeches will include toast, blessings, any of that.
Now we dance.
A lot of you guys ask me about this. Here in Jersey, it's very common to dance before dinner. I know that might strike you as odd. Having a dance set before dinner is key because it kind of gets the crowd on your side. The longer that you have the people sitting, in my opinion, it's just gonna make it a daunting task to get them up and dancing, just because they don't trust you yet. Once you have that first dance set to kind of break the ice, it's like, all right, this guy's a good DJ, he got us up dancing. Would you agree?
I agree, and also I think a big plus to the early dance set is if you have a very young couple who likes a lot of house music, hip hop, club type of stuff. This gives you a great opportunity to play a little bit towards the older crowd, get some of that safe music out of the way.
This is where we usually drop that Motown, that disco, that sort of stuff.
100%. And then that way after dinner, the older crowd, the parents, the family friends, they've already been out there dancing to all the safe, normal wedding music they love, and the alcohol's kicked in. We're ready to rave. After this dance set, next time we stop is for dinner. After dinner, more dancing. This is also what I like to call like the peak hour set.
At least for what we do, this is usually when we go hard, where we hit them with that EDM, that crazy stuff. This is when we hit the younger crowd. So the first dance is more or less an icebreaker, played super safe. Like we're talking Motown, we're talking like that Bruno Mars.
This is when you hear Uptown Funk, things like that.
Exactly.
September.
Michael Jackson, that sort of stuff. Here's when we hit him with like the hardcore shit.
Once we build this, you're gonna see there's gonna be 3 dance sets in our typical New Jersey timeline. This is the safe one. This, I say the one after dinner is always the most packed one because it's before cake, before dessert, so nobody has really left yet. So you still do get a decent amount of the older crowd who's out there. They're having a great time. Once we hit cake and dessert, that's when your grandparents leave. A little bit of the older crowd starts to trickle out.
People have a couple of drinks inside.
Exactly. That's when you get into, maybe some of the ratchet music, some of the throwbacks.
Yep.
Oh shit, this is my song type of music. It's gonna be that last dance set that we're gonna do. Next break is cake.
I might have to reframe. Give me 1 second.
Immediately followed by bouquet and cake activities. So this is gonna include, again, any garter stuff that you're doing, anniversary dance, things like that. And then we have our final dessert.
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 It only takes up about 15 minutes, would you say, at the most?
I agree. Only difference is if they have a Viennese hour. So Viennese is dessert sometimes in a different room or a different area of the ballroom where people actually have to get up to go get it. A lot of times if it's just dessert at the tables, we'll skip it. We'll go right back into dancing.
So this essentially what you're seeing is the ideal timeline, because after this is party's over.
Well, I think if you say ideal timeline, a lot of people are going to disagree with you on that because
this is what
we're comfortable with.
This is what I like to work with. Yes.
And I can understand that there are people who are not comfortable with this timeline, who are comfortable with their timeline, who think it is ideal. What's nice about being in New Jersey is we work in 2 different states that have very different timelines. Not only New Jersey, but also Pennsylvania and New York. So New York does it a little bit funky. A lot of times they'll leave this layout where they'll be dancing before dinner, but they'll move some of this stuff to be after dinner. Now,
Sounds bad already.
Dinner. This is not something that would be uncommon in Long Island, Manhattan, where they kind of break it up a little bit more. Here's why I'm not a fan of it. In our New Jersey timeline, we're already taking a decent amount of breaks. A break for dinner and a break for cake. So we have 3 dance sets, 2 breaks. This adds another one in. I find when I have to do dancing right after the first dance, one, it's usually not for a long amount of time. Usually they only want you to dance for like 10, 15 minutes. The side result of that is your crowd doesn't trust you. You ask them to get on the dance floor, you pack the dance floor, and then 3 songs later, you're like, sit down.
It's like a Catholic church.
Exactly. So when you sit down for this, I think hurts you more than it helps you. I think putting first course after first/patter dance and just having a larger dance set is the better way to go. That's my opinion. If you disagree with me, put it in the comments.
Another thing I want to
anyway.
tack on with this one, with parent dances being so late into the evening, what you're often going to find is it's really hard to get people to settle down once more after the first dance introductions. Most of the time people are pretty good about staying in their seats, listening to what you have to say. But it's very hard to do that a second time. Everybody go back, sit down, and watch them dance with their parents. It sometimes is a daunting task because I'm trying to rile everybody up, and I find that I end up losing valuable dance time just trying to rile people up to go back, sit down.
Pay attention.
Yeah,
Be where they
exactly.
need to be.
So more or less, the parents kind of get the bad end of the stick. They're just, nobody's going to care about their dance.
I have 2 more cons for you for doing this. So if you let all of this time go by, all of this time is spent drinking most of the time. So by the time speeches come around, best man might have had one too many. Or he might be having a bad time because the groom's not letting him drink until his speech happens. So a third of the wedding is done with him being dead sober. Nobody wants to go to a wedding and not drink for 2 hours. Also, with the parent dances, keep in mind, everybody's been dancing already. So hair's not gonna be perfect, makeup might not be perfect anymore, so that's gonna reflect in your photos too. That's why we usually recommend to our couples, get this stuff done in the first 20 minutes. You're gonna have flawless photos, and once it's all done, you don't have to worry about it. Just dance, eat, drink the rest of the night. Cake cutting and bouquet, like that's fun stuff. You don't need to look amazing. And just from experience, I would 100% say it will almost always result in a better wedding to not do it this way. A lot of times we'll see this happen, like you said, where it's cake, bouquet, and then into dancing before dessert. I'm actually totally fine with this. I have no issue with this. You see this a lot of times, especially if you have maybe a 5-hour reception, something like that with Viennese. Maybe your photographers or cinematographers aren't staying the whole night, so you need to time crunch cake and bouquet into an earlier time in the night.
So one thing I will say about this particular timeline that I personally don't like is I do a lot of the Spanish stuff. Usually in the Spanish world, when you cut cake, it's like, all right, thank you for coming, go home.
That's a lot of cultures, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people. So I usually try my best to try to do cake in the last hour and 15, maybe 45 minutes if I'm lucky. But most of the time, if they cut cake so close to dinner,
people think it's over.
Yeah, people think it's over.
I will say that,
all right,
especially with the
home.
older crowds. That's like the traditional cue that, okay, I can leave now. The cake has been cut. Now let me give you a timeline that I think a lot of you out there might be familiar with, and you've definitely worked with a couple times before that I am not a fan of, but we'll talk about it.
Oh, this is that everything up front.
Everything in the beginning timeline. Also, we see this a lot in Pennsylvania. They want to do all of the food service before any dancing happens. You can have a crowd that can work with this timeline. It is risky.
Yeah, this is kind of a term that I got from you is you kind of coined this. This is having a marathon dance set.
Yes.
Here in Jersey, we're used to 4 hours, and whenever we have even a 5-hour reception, to me, from a DJ standpoint, I'm like, damn.
Unless they
it's a daunting task.
Unless they like a wide variety of music, which a lot of couples do. Thank
well,
God.
I equate that to the amount of guests.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, if you have 200 and over, then you'd be okay. Good. But if you have less than 200 guests, I would probably stay away from that extra hour, and I would stay away from this timeline altogether.
So I think this is a good time to talk about why I like the breaks that we have.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of taking these little breaks for dinner. And again, it's not an hour of dinner, it's 20 minutes of dinner. 10 minutes, cake, bouquet, dessert, all of that. This gives people an opportunity to go do things that they want to do besides dancing. So if you want to go grab a drink, great. If you want to go to the bathroom, great. If you want to go outside, smoke a cigarette, great. Now's the time to do that. So when it's time to dance again, we're going to have everybody out on the dance floor. So it's a little bit quality over quantity there. So when the dance floor is going, it's going to be packed. It might not be for as long of a time overall, but when it's happening, everybody's going to be ready. Everybody's going to be going crazy. When you do this, and you have maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours straight of dancing, people might not last
Yeah.
They might
that's a workout.
That's a workout.
Yeah, that's a workout.
You're going to end up, sure, there'll be dance music going for that amount of time, but everybody's going to be scattered around the room.
Yeah, and this isn't a nightclub where you don't really notice when you transition between genres. Mm-hmm. Here, you're going to notice hard transitions where you'll notice, all right, I've been going hard with a hip-hop set or like a Motown set. I got to switch it up because I'm starting to lose them. You're going to notice a hard shift of like clear out. Mm-hmm. Back in, clear out, back in. It's not like a nightclub where everybody just kind of just goes to it, like boom, 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 boom.
And also, keep in mind we are a little bit restricted here because I know this is also a difference to a lot of areas in the country. A lot of our couples don't like line dances. They don't want them at all. So when we get people out on the dance floor, we can't lean back on that. We can't be like cha-cha slide time. It's a little bit harder to do if you're already dancing and everybody clears the dance floor and then you try to do it again because it takes a little bit of time. Or you could do something on the mic. But again, you can only do that so many times before people stop having that respect.
They're onto your little tricks.
Exactly. This timeline also, in case there's any couples watching out here, might not only be a disservice to your dance floor, but I think it's a disservice to you because there is so much wasted time here. I actually just did a wedding for a bride who wanted this exact timeline.
Yeah.
And she said, listen, I want everybody to eat all the food before we start dancing. And I said, great, but just so you know, after first course, it's not going to be, they're not going to be immediately out with dinner. It's going to take about 20 minutes. They're like, no, it's not. They're going to pick up the first course and drop down the dinner. But that's not how it works. This isn't a restaurant where they pick it up and drop it down. You have to clear 150, 200 plates. At the same time. Get them all back to the kitchen and then bring out 150 new plates. Yeah. So this time it's just going to be people doing nothing.
I get it when brides are kind of planning out their timeline. They're like, how can I optimize the time? So in their head, they're just like, we'll do all the formalities up front.
Yeah.
So yes, on paper, this looks like the best timeline. Everything done up front, and then the rest of the party is just up to dancing. From a DJ standpoint, I don't know how many parties you guys do where you have like a packed dance for 3 hours straight, but those are very rare, few and far between.
What a great segue to our... This, I think, gets done other places, but is more increasingly common in New Jersey, is this timeline. Where all of this stuff happens, well, let's start it here. All of this stuff happens, but the music doesn't stop. So after speeches, we open up the dance floor and dance through first course, through dinner, through cake. They're probably not going to do a bouquet toss if they're doing this type of timeline, and through dessert. So I would call this
is that lounge, cocktail
lounge style timeline.
Yeah. This is for those brides and grooms that get in their head, oh, we party all night when we're at the club kind of timeline.
The people are just going to eat if they want to. They're going to dance if they want to.
Yeah.
I have done weddings like this, and I have done weddings like this where it turns out
successful.
Great, 100%. But that is a lot of the times because they had the crowd to support.
Yeah.
No matter how good of DJs that we are or you are, it's really, really hard to make everybody in that room happy for this long amount of time.
So going off that, increasingly something that we're seeing is brides telling me like, I'm not doing anything, I'm just gonna have a party. And you're essentially gonna get that same lounge type, which again, for me, it's a daunting task where they're like, I'm not doing first dance, I'm not doing garter. It's just gonna be, say we're in the room, so they'll do an introduction and then dance set, no formal time for dinner, cake, or any of that.
This timeline.
It's just that. This is scary.
This I actually have seen comment at restaurants that are not catering halls. I've seen a lot of couples do this.
This is what you get from brides and grooms. They're like, oh, I don't want the attention on me. I don't want the spotlight.
You don't really have any say over this at all.
Yeah.
This really is determined by the venue.
So here in Jersey, we do have maitre d's, which is kind of the people who run the night, who kind of tell us what time they need to have people standing, what time they need to have people sitting. And we're kind of at the mercy of them. So oftentimes you'll hear me say to them, like, you have a good timeline for me kind of thing? Like kind of just trying to, butter them up just a little bit so that they're kind of nice to me and kind of understand from a DJ perspective. Because oftentimes I'll run into maitre d's where they're just like, all right, get him up. Get him up. Like, dude, it's not that easy.
Yeah, they don't understand that.
They don't understand the psychology where I got to build, I got to work my way in there. It's not just like sit up, stand down, sit up, stand down. And sometimes they don't do a good job of understanding that. All right, boom. So in closing, the ideal wedding timeline that you want to follow is this one right here. And I'll kind of let Evan kind of walk us through it.
Well, I would say overall, regardless of where the specifics are, I think it's important to do the things that you want to look good in your photos for in the very beginning. Get that stuff out of the way.
First dance, parent dances, universally. You don't want it sweat. You don't want your hair all messed up.
Regardless of what your first course is, take this or leave it. It doesn't matter. Try to get some dancing in before dinner. It's gonna really, really improve your relationship with the older guests at the wedding, and also give you a good opportunity to maybe throw in some different genres of music so you could feel out the crowd, so you're not risking your dance floor later.
And I usually tell my brides and grooms, because a lot of the brides and grooms that we deal with are like that no-line dancing kind of crowd. So I usually tell them, hey, listen, that first dance set, don't get freaked out by it, because I am going to hit some of those songs that you might not necessarily be like, oh, that's not what I asked for. Because we do play it kind of safe here in this first dance set, but that's because we want to get the crowd on our side. So that's when we hit them with like the Earth, Wind, and Fire, September, Uptown Funk, all that stuff. And I usually give them a heads up on that just so that they know that, hey, I'm going to get to your music. I'm going to get to all that EDM, all that hip hop that you told me to play. But just bear with me on that first dance set.
Also, I will add one plus of this dance set that I didn't talk about. If you have, I don't want to say an unusual ethnic, but an ethnic wedding that isn't Latin, all right? So if you have like a Greek wedding, an Albanian wedding, a Russian wedding, maybe exclude Russians from that, but like a wedding where they have, you know, circle dances or traditional dances that you know for a fact the other side of the family or a large amount of guests are going to have no idea what to do, and you know it's going to kind of ruin your dance floor a little bit. This dance set is key because you could go into that 5-10 minutes before dinner. So that way if your dance set totally clears out, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect your dancing for the rest of the night. As opposed to if you didn't have this, you're going to have to do this sometime later in the night. It's going to kill your dance floor and you're going to have to reset, where you could just do it like this and have it be natural. After dinner, this is going to be your most packed dance set. Pretty much everybody's still at the wedding. They're ready to party. The alcohol started to kick in. This is when, if you see any of our videos on Instagram, stuff like that, this is when 99% of the crowd surfing, all that type of crazy stuff is going to happen. Next break, cake, bouquet, dessert, all that type of stuff happens. And then usually about a straight hour of dancing at the end of the night. Again, this is, you know, throwbacks, you know, fun hip hop. That's when you get like 2000s, rock, all that type of stuff. That's when we really delve into the specific music taste of our couples and their friends and pay a little bit less attention to the crowd as a whole.
Guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we'd love to hear how you guys do your wedding.
If you have any tips for us on the timelines that we don't like and how to handle them better, please let us know, because we deal with them all the time. And, you know.
The game is constantly changing, so we're constantly having to deal with different timelines, different venues, different ways of doing things. So if you have any tips or suggestions for us, leave them down below. Once more, I want to thank Evan for helping me out with this video. Please like this video if you like this, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you really want to help me out, don't forget to turn on that bell so you can be notified next time me and Evan do another video here at Posh HQ. Thank you, bros. Peace.